Zombie Man will be the final SSR Plus character to wrap up 2024. So here's everything you need to know about Zombie Man and whether or not he is worth pulling for. So let's get into his attack skills. But before we get into this video, I would like to announce the all-new One Punch Man the Strongest global wiki page, which is a community-based project where members of the community are able to collaborate and provide useful tips and insights within everything that the game has to offer. There are many articles that range from specific features and game modes to the descriptions of every stat in the game, and even player-based articles that reveal the strongest players on the global version. So feel free to check out the link in the description below, and I would like to thank Honey Senpai and a huge thanks to Dove for leading this exciting project to keep this exclusive community connected and providing the ultimate resource for all players. Now back to the video. For his basic attack, he attacks a single target with 3 hits for 120% of his attack. And for his ultimate attack, he attacks an entire row with 4 hits for 360% of his attack. He also grants specialized acceleration to the allies in the same row, which increases the speed of those allies to 90% of Zombie Man's speed, which lasts for 1 round. All of which costing 0 energy to activate, making his ultimate attack completely free. And if you have his keepsake, you'll unlock his ultra ultimate attack where he'll instead deal 500% of his attack as row damage, and he'll boost the speed of the allies in the same row to 95% of Zombie Man speed. Moving on to his passive skills, so for his regular passive, at the start of battle he grants specialized acceleration to himself, which increases his speed by 20%. And if the main target's speed is lower, then he deals 500% of his attack to the main target. If you manage to limit break him to 5 stars, he'll increase his speed by 25%, and if you manage to unlock his 5p awakening, he increases his speed by 30%, which is needed in order to outspeed Flashy Flash users. For his awakened passive, at the start of battle, he grants Encourage to all allies for 3 rounds, which grants an extra 2 energy for your team. He also triggers Reborn after taking fatal damage, which when an ally is present, he recovers 60% of his HP up to 3 times per battle. If you manage to unlock his second awakening, then he'll be able to generate 3 energy for your team for 5 rounds, as well as being able to revive up to 5 times per battle. Moving on to his enhancements, for his talent page, unlock both pages and upgrade all the base attack stats and bonus damage buffs as your top priority. Otherwise, those marked in the blue circles are also good stats to upgrade if you do have the spare talent points to do so. For his sigils, they aren't very important because he's a speedster, so he doesn't really need this extra investment, but if you do unlock them, then for his damage sigils, use sword sigils, and for his support sigils, use vitality sigils. In regards to his limit break, get him to 5 stars as soon as possible, as you'll be able to gain up to 25% speed bonus, which is required in order to speed tie with flashy users. And in regards to his awakening, get him to 5p as soon as possible if you do have his keepsake, as you'll be able to gain up to 30% of a speed bonus, which will make him the fastest unit in game, being able to outspeed Flashy Flash users. Now going through his gears, so for his gear set, the best set for him would be a fiery set. Otherwise, the next best set is Ninja, then followed by either Flash or Monk. Don't bother putting any other set onto him, since speedsters should only be using any of those 4 sets mentioned. And with these gears, you would want all 4 of them having attack speed, as you want to make him as fast as possible, as well as sneaking in some attack here and there to help with his bonus damage. Now you can put HP speed or even defense speed gears onto him, since the main stat isn't a top priority, but replace them with attack speed whenever you can. And for his buff gears, all of them should have attack, with your hero gear having speed bonus and attack bonus, your duelist gear having crit and flat attack, and your S-class gear having bonus damage and flat attack. And if you manage to get an augmentation from upgrading your S-class gear, none of them are really useful for him, so you can completely ignore them, but if you get a block one, that would probably be the best for him, as that is quite universal with any character. Now to go through some team compositions with Zombie Man. So for example, one with the higher end players, this would most probably be the strongest team with 2 revive units with Melzagard and Phoenix Man, then followed by Gorobas and Deep Sea King as a column combo, with Zombie Man speeding up both Gorobas and Melzagard for the corrosion, and then those revives, with Drive Knight being the main core. This is probably going to be the most predominant team can be used, or you might see a replacement of Phoenix Man for Tank Top Master, because Tank Top Master is still very usable in this current meta if he is heavily invested into. Otherwise, you could opt for example 2, where instead of the most powerful units, some good alternatives can be Giganship's core instead of Drive Knight's core, if you find that Gorobas's corrosion is too much and melts through your Drive Drive Knight's core, with the exception of using Tank Top Master instead of Melzagard, as Tank Top Master is very helpful for the breakthrough as well as tankiness, whereas with Melzagard he can't really dish out that shield rate anymore outside of Drive Knight's core. And if you don't have some of these units in these examples, then there are some alternatives on the right hand side that you can slot in for instead. So these are what some higher end lineups can look like with Zombie Man. Now to go through some lower end lineups with Zombie Man, with him you must have some DPS carry with him, otherwise he's not really usable as his own singular unit on your team. So if you did pull for Deep Sea King and Gorobas, for example, you can use them in the same column, but being able to speed up Gorobas instead of Deep Sea King, because Gorobas is really insane at the moment with his corrosion. And to fill in for that second slot being sped up, you can use someone like Drive Knight, whose ultimate is completely free, so you don't lose any energy to begin with, and you can inflict that damage rate reduction straight away onto the enemy team. With your other units being some shield rate unit, which could either be Tank Top Vegan or Goketsu, which I've displayed on both teams, and then your final slot can be whoever you have to slot in for. Now, if you don't have someone like Gorobas, then you need to have at least one other SSR plus carry, preferably in your team, so you can use someone like Deep Sea King in the same row as Zombie Man, which I put in example 2. Now, Butterfly DX is also a great unit to use if you do use units like Deep Sea King or Gorobas, as he does boost the dots of your characters, but he does need to put in the same row as that character. So if you don't like Zombie Man speeding up Butterfly DX, and you can replace it with someone else like Drive Knight like the previous example, or some other carry that you have on your team. And if you don't have some of these characters on screen, then you can opt for some alternatives on the right hand side, where you can even use some backup stick units like Metal Bat and Carnage Kabuto that just came out recently, or you can use people like Gale Wind, who is supposed to come out on the heroic banner very soon for a week. So if you do have any spare red heroic tickets, then please try and save a lot of them up in order to try and attempt to pull for Gale Wind, because those stuns are extremely helpful in both PvP and PvE. So those are what some lower end lineups can look like with Zombie Man. So going through the main takeaways from this unit, he will become the fastest unit in the game for as long as 4 months, surpassing Flashy as the best speedster to use for PvP, as well as being the fastest hero character for a very long time. His row damage ultimate attack is also completely free, which saves you an extra ultimate attack for your other characters to use, as well as doing additional damage for free. He's also able to boost the speed of 2 characters instead of 1, unlike Flashy, which will help manage your speed order for your team a lot more effectively. And finally, he'll be able to grant extra energy for your team, where you'll be able to use more ultimate attacks throughout the battle, making you deal a lot more damage and making him a necessity for PvP. Now, in regards to his cons, firstly, he does require massive investment, because you have to pull his keepsake in order to unlock his 5p to compete against other Zombie Man users, as well as his Awaken 2 in order to get those extra speed boosts from his speed growth. Plus, you need to max out his gears and at least get his keepsake to 3 stars, which now requires 437 sacks and 48 purple sacks with the introduction of red buff gears. So you will have to go all in on him, otherwise please skip him if you can't invest as much speed into him. Secondly, he's also not useful in PvE, so if you are relying on someone to help you out in PvE for heroes, Zombie Man isn't enough to carry your team in terms of pure DPS, with others such as Gorobas and even future heroes such as Metal Knight and Super Ally Darkshine being the much better alternatives if you are focusing on PvE. And finally, UR Sonic will be the better alternative in 4 months time, as he is part of the UR era, being able to both grant and remove energy, as well as many more great buffs such as evasion and specialized burns. So he would definitely be the better speedster to pull for if you're looking for a support unit, as Zombie Man will only be relevant for the next 4 months, whereas UR Sonic will be relevant for more than double the time span that Zombie Man will be relevant for. So should you pull for Zombie Man? So for free to play and low spenders, I would recommend skipping him, as he's only useful in PvP, so he's not really needed for your accounts. For mid spenders, I'm also going to recommend that you skip Zombie Man, as well as waiting it out for 4 months instead would definitely benefit you in the long run, as Sonic can synergize very well with other very strong units within the UR era. And for high spenders, you can decide on pulling him if you do intend on having him as your fastest hero speedster, otherwise skipping him isn't a bad idea as well if you at least have Flashy, so you can save your black tickets for more UR characters. However, if you are deciding on pulling him, then you have to go all out with his keepsake and second awakening to get as much speed as possible. And now I present the predicted SSR Plus timeline for global. Well, now we only have 2 months left left of the SSR Plus era after Zombie Man, with the last two being pretty strong and usable during even the early stages of the UR era. And in regards to other units such as Gira Gira, we finally got confirmation that he alongside Phoenix Man will be available via the Awakening Wheel, but with no current date set, so I predict sometime during December that he'll be released. Now, should you spend hundreds of dollars for Gira Gira? Absolutely not. Please don't even think about Gira Gira, as he is extremely outdated, with Melzagan being made to counter him, who's already been released months before, and he's already going to be his rerun during the December 16th, so there's literally no point in pulling for Gira Gira. So it's a massive scam. Please do not spend your money on him unless you are some collector who's actually willing to be openly scammed by Moontoon. Anyways, that wraps up the end of the video, and I'd love to give shoutouts to all of my YouTube members for their continuous support. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed this video, then feel free to subscribe and click on the notification bell to stay up to date in keeping your One Punch Man account the strongest. Make sure you check out the links in the description below if you want to check out the wiki page, join my Discord server, or if you want to become a YouTube member to support my channel. Anyways, that's all for today, so leave a like and a comment down below if you did enjoy this video, and I will catch you all next time.